Hi people, morning or waiting back here again as always, Andrew, as usual. I'm going to do a quick geolocation chart on a location that I would love to visit called the Maldives. And you'll see, well, you can already tell based on the thumbnail why that is the case. It's a beautiful tropical paradise, Caribbean looking location. Now, let's get started. Again, you can simply Google the Maldives and you'll see for yourself, okay, what the Maldives is, where it is, and whatnot, etc., etc., etc. It's literally just a Google click away. Just to be clear, the Maldives is I think it's near the Indian Ocean or similar. In any case, it's a specific tropical paradise-looking location. It might be Caribbean-looking in nature, arguably, but it isn't in the Caribbean. It is somewhere between Africa and Asia, as far as I know. I don't know the exact location, but my point is still, we're going to cover it. So just for clarificationary purposes, just going to show you on Google Maps where it is before I get this video started, just so that there are no thingies, so that everything is clear. See, you can see it here for yourself. It's in South Asia, situated in the Indian Ocean, so I was right. Essentially, to the southern part of India. There you have it. That is the Maldives. So again, I was correct. Not that I doubted myself, but okay. Anyways, let's get started. As you can tell here, or see here, the ascendant is ruled by Scorpio. And while I'm at it, I'm going to discuss all four of these clusters of planets in the 12th house. The Sun, Mars, Ceres, and Mercury are all in Scorpio in the 12th house. Now, the ascendant alone being in Scorpio stands for the fact that that water plays a big role for a nation like the Maldives. And all of these four planets in the 12th house that represents the ocean pretty much solidifies that like there's no tomorrow. So that means that there is a lot of water that either runs through this nation or is encompassed by it. A lot more the latter than the former. So simply put, based on what you're seeing here, this entire cluster plus the ascendant stands for the fact that the Maldives is most likely a small island or a series of islands or a chain of islands encompassed by the ocean or by oceans, which is correct in the Maldives' case. Now, the reason that's why it's so water signs are so dominant, like a lot of water. The reason it's Scorpio, because Scorpio would stand for aggressive water, simply stands for potentially deadly marine life, which is also true. A lot of sharks and a lot of stuff there. Okay, a lot of things that can potentially kill you if you're a person. As a person, I mean. Now, the second house is ruled by Sagittarius, notably, which stands for the fact that the Maldives, a good or at least considerable amount of revenue, so income, the money they earn as a nation, comes from foreign entities and foreign bodies. Think of anything from tourism to foreign investors, you name it. Pluto is in Capricorn, conjunct the third house, in the third house, which stands for the fact that the Maldives has a good infrastructure. There is a good infrastructure set up that makes it so that you can move around and or about at least adequately. And we have Saturn in the fourth house, 0 degrees in Pisces, and Neptune as well, also at its strongest in Pisces, but going retrograde, and Neptune is opposed Venus. This simply stands for the fact that that there is a lot of corruption, honestly. There's a lot of corruption that centers more on benefiting the nation as a whole at the expense of the general public, including foreigners. So just plain corruption. And Saturn there opposed the pot of fortune that is conjunct the midheaven, as well as opposed Lilith and Juno, stands for the fact that the men are the ones that, generally speaking, carry the household, as well as the fact that they are responsible for the majority of corruption. And corruption within not just the government, but within the overall authoritarian factors of life, so commercial and industrial, overall business life. And that things work more on a buddy-buddy basis, and it just goes on, you know. You scratch my back, I scratch yours basis. etc., etc. Now we have got Jupiter, the Earth, and Uranus. Jupiter and Uranus are both in Taurus in the 6th house, both going retrograde, and they're opposed. The cluster of planets, aforementioned cluster of planets in the 12th house. What this stands for is the fact that a good deal of the labor market in the Maldives essentially uses the surrounding oceans and anything relating to naval life or marine life to its benefit, but in a negative way. That's why it's going retrograde. It essentially stands for exploiting the aforementioned, or exploitation of the aforementioned to its fullest extent. And that also applies to, that's why it applies especially to business partners. That's why Uranus is conjunct the 7th house. The moon is in Leo in the 9th house, which stands for women in general, that women are more focused on engaging with foreigners for the purposes of cultivating a romantic relationship, most likely to simply improve and or increase their quality of life or living circumstances and conditions. And it also stands for the fact that there is a heavy focus on again on tourism industry, anything of a foreign nature, on accommodating foreigners, and that it's quite stable, honestly, quite stable and consistent. Stable and consistent, or better said, stable in the sense of being consistent. Venus is in Virgo conjunct the 11th house, in the 11th house, which simply stands for the fact that there is a strong focus and a love of catering to the public, but that there are difficulties. That's why it's in Virgo. It essentially stands for labor-based exploitation, like I already mentioned earlier. You see how the entire chart says the same thing. Okay, it says that essentially, like I said, the Maldives, although beautiful and whatnot, is rife with corruption, and people especially try to take advantage of anything relating to the water or the beauty of the island chain that they can take advantage of as a means of earning a living. Like I said, think of tourism-based corruption or anything like that, or commercial-based corruption, any kind of corruption that is aimed towards foreigners, or exploitation. Think of overcharging, think of bribes, kickbacks. It just goes on, from foreign companies as a means of accommodating them more easily, to make the whole process go easily, as in any kind of permit that they need, any kind of paperwork can easily be taken care of if they just quote unquote accommodate, for example, a local politician or a local business owner or entrepreneur or similar. Pallas being in Libra in the 11th house stands for the fact that there is a decent level of refinement and development in terms of accommodating the masses, especially tourists. That's why it's right next to the South Node, and it's going stationary. It stands for the fact that the Maldives as a nation is already focusing enough on this aspect, and they need to focus more on what the North Node says, also going stationary, conjunct the 6th house. They need to invest more in their labor market to reduce levels of corruption and mismanagement and exploitation. But since both are going stationary, it stands for the fact that that's highly unlikely to happen. The stationary aspects here stand for fixity. Again, the South Node stands for beautification. That's why it's also conjunct the 12th house. And I already explained earlier what all of these planets mean. And that's essentially it. That's the Maldives in a nutshell. And I'm going to show you guys, for example, just proof of everything that I've said. As always, not that proof is required, but it makes for a nice addition to the video. See for yourself, crime in the Maldives. Look at all of this. Level of crime 58 on a scale of 0 to 100. Problem, corruption and bribery 74% high. Problem, people using or dealing drugs high. Problem, property crimes such as vandalism and theft, relatively speaking, high. You can see that most of these are moderate to high. The only ones that are low are worries of being subject to an attack based on skin color, ethnicity, religion, so like xenophobia, and worries about your car being stolen. Those things are the only things that are low. For the rest, for a small island, or for an island chain with like 150,000 people, this is pretty worrying. You know, if I look up how many people, population of the Maldives, look at that. Oh, sorry, 521,000 people in total. They're like spread across the island essentially. It depends on what island you're on in the Maldives, but 500,000. But even so, a country with not even 1 million people having a corruption rate of like 75%, that's still worrying in a matter of speaking. Now let's continue. An example, a Reuters article from last year. And I cite, Maldives former President Yameen gets 11-year jail term. Reuters, December 25th, 2022. I'm sorry, annoying stupid ads. Piss off. Yeah. Mali is their capital. Hold on. Yeah, December 25th. The Maldives Criminal Court on Sunday sentenced former President Abdullah Yameen to 11 years in prison and fined him $5 million after finding him guilty of corruption and money laundering charges related to receiving kickbacks from a private company. Yasmin has denied any wrongdoing, obviously. He lost power in 2018 but has been declared presidential candidate for the Progressive Party of the Maldives for an election due in 2023, so this year. Already in 2019, he was sentenced to 5 years in jail and fined $5 million in 2019 for embezzling $1 million in state funds, which the prosecution said was acquired through the lease of resort development rights. After his sentencing, Yameen was shifted to house arrest in 2020 and was freed months later. Since his release, Yameen, the half-brother of former dictator Mamoun Abdul Gayoom, has returned to active politics with a campaign against Indian influence in Maldives, raising concerns in New Delhi. Situated close to strategic shipping lanes in the Indian Ocean, Maldives is a focal point for competition between India and China over influence in the region. And there you go. You see how it hits the nail on the head. You see exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly as I said. Literally and figuratively speaking, exactly as I said. And if you'll go to YouTube, I'll show you guys. Hold on for a second. Stupid thing load quicker. Yeah. Let me show you guys. Introducing the Maldives.
Unrivaled luxury, stunning white sand beaches, and an amazing underwater world make the Maldives an ideal choice for the tropical holiday of a lifetime. The Maldives is home to some of the best beaches in the world, and there's lots to explore on the country's nearly 1,200 islands. They are so consistently perfect, with their whiter-than-white sand, luminous cyan blue water, that it's not hard to become blasé about them after a while. The pocket-sized Maldivian capital is definitely the best place to get to know the locals and see what makes them tick. The brightly painted houses and friendly tea shops are just some of the highlights of this fascinating miniature capital city. There are few more thrilling experiences than a dawn dive, descending into the deep blue ocean and discovering a huge school of hungry hammerhead sharks. The best place to do this is at the world-famous Hammerhead Point. Whether you're in a resort or staying on an inhabited island, the cultural highlight of almost any trip to the Maldives is seeing an incredible dance and drum performance known as Bodu Beru. These zippy twin otters function like taxis in a country with just a handful of roads, and taking off from the water is an unforgettable experience. Anyone who snorkels or dives in Adu will be in awe of the richness and variety of colourful marine life, particularly off the island of Gan. High season runs December through February. Surf season begins in March and continues until October. Travel costs in the Maldives can range from less than $300 a day if you enjoy a budget resort and public ferries, to over $750 a day for a top-end room and dining at the best restaurants in Malé. Travel is by boat, plane or seaplane, and resorts will arrange for a transfer to or from the airport. It's It's not surprising that honeymooners and those seeking a tropical getaway have long had this country on their wish lists. But there's choice beyond the top resorts. Other islands cater for families, for those on a budget, and anyone wanting a tranquil, back-to-nature experience.
Yeah, and there you go. That's what the Maldives is perceived to be like. Now, if you just look up something as simple as the Maldives, just on YouTube, you do a search for the Maldives, you'll see easily, like in third place, fourth place, you'll see warnings essentially, as in what the Maldives is actually like. See? For example, here, Wild Viking Travels, what Maldives luxury resorts don't want you to know. And they essentially discuss the things that I brought up, some of the things I brought up. Stuff like this here, the Maldives they show you is a lie. It just goes on. Because they do this, for example, this channel, Wild Viking Travels, and the guy in it, they do discuss certain things. That on certain beaches, or some beaches at least, bikinis is illegal, or are illegal. You're not allowed to like dress in bikini, you need to dress modestly. Because if I'm not mistaken, Islam is the dominant religion in the Maldives. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can easily Google it, and you'll see for yourself. It just goes on, you know. It's not what any travel brochure would want you to believe. They make it come off as if it's a tropical paradise, and it is up to a certain extent, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, you know. It's as real can be, and it just goes on. You'll easily find a couple of channels or a couple of videos in which people warn you that, hey, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and you need to be wary of the things that I mentioned. All the things I mentioned in my video just now. I mean, yeah, the Maldives is beautiful. Let's see, this guy's another guy. The side of the Maldives, no one talks about Ben Morris. That it's not literally all sunshine and rainbows. Okay. You've got a good deal of negativity as well. And yeah, that's essentially it, guys. See you until next time. Bye-bye.